everyone. Thank you for coming back for another episode of the Creatures of the Night podcast. I'm Chris.
And I'm Wendy.
There we are. If you haven't heard our voices before, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
So I found this cemetery. Speaking of, since this is a paranormal podcast, I found this cemetery. It's called the Valley Street Cemetery, and it's not one that I've ever checked out before. It's because we've got really nothing but time on our hands, and I love checking out graveyards anyways. You know, this is a place where I can pretty much go, and there's nobody around, or there shouldn't be anybody around. It's a graveyard. It's peaceful. It's quiet. And really, for the most part, I go to graveyards a lot and never see anybody. So I'm a little shocked when I do see people there now. It's a little different. I'm kind of like, what are you doing here? Get out of my cemetery.
They can't go anywhere else now.
Right.
Yeah, it's a nice, peaceful walk. And these days, some parks are closing, but you can go to a fucking cemetery. Nobody's judging you for that.
True. And I have to walk my dog. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, I am using my dog as an excuse to get out and investigate a graveyard, but it is a dog. She doesn't need to be cooped up in the house. She's a hound dog of all dog breeds. She needs to be out sniffing around. So, yes, I'm going out for as many walks as I can to graveyards, cemeteries, which is, like I said before, not an uncommon thing for me to do anyways. So I'm finding some new ones that I haven't visited before, which works out great for me and for my pooch because new sniffs all around. Not so much for me, but for her.
If you're like down there sniffing headstones, wow, somebody's going to call the law on you.
Oh my God. Well, this is a cemetery. I do not want to get down on the ground and sniff anything because there's like a sewage line that cuts through it now.
Ooh.
So it's a really old cemetery, like 1800 style, maybe even earlier, but it was built in a sense so that it was a park. Like they would have horse-drawn carriages take you through it. It was hilly and very beautiful. And there's, you know, at this point now, a bunch of ancient ash trees. It's gorgeous. It was a park style cemetery. So it's still very pretty, but now it's in a very urban part of town, like right in the middle of Manchester, New Hampshire. So there's a lot of homeless that I did see camping out in the cemetery. So that's why I said earlier, I was like, typically when I go to cemeteries, I don't see a lot of people. Well, this time I did. Dude, there was a park across the street, like a kid's like swinging kind of a park. And I think maybe it was attached to a school. So maybe it was like a school playground. These homeless gentlemen and women are serious. They had tents.
Oh.
I've never seen that level of homeless in the New Hampshire area. So I was like, yeah, okay, they're legit. I'm going to try and stay as far away from them as possible.
Yeah, like this is their turf.
Yeah.
But it's kind of wild to see.
So yeah, we found the cemetery, and the whole reason why I wanted to go is clearly because it's a haunted cemetery. It's got a ton of stories. I didn't realize like how like thickly urban it was until I got there. But something that was super cool is that I saw all these fat ass turkeys walking around in the cemetery. Like when we're driving to it, even my husband had to dodge some of these turkeys that just come jetting out from like the neighborhood. Like, and I see turkeys all the time, so that wasn't a big deal. But in the cemetery, these were like the Thanksgiving Day, like with all the feathers. You know, when you were the kid in third grade and you had to draw the turkey with your fingers, your 5 digits. These bad boys, they had their whole tail feathers spread out. And I guess because it's springtime, right? They want to look all pretty and stuff for their mate. So they're trotting around looking all handsome. And of course, I've got my hound dog that wants to go full force. And my dog would have been a snack to this turkey. So I couldn't get as close as I wanted to see these birds or to even look for turkey feathers, but it was still cool to see them in a cemetery. I don't think that has ever happened to me before. It was kind of neat. But yeah, back to the cemetery, there's like a mass burial of victims from like a cholera outbreak of 1850, and kind of sad because it seems like they buried those victims like at midnight and when their families couldn't come to send them off. So there's a lot of like ghostly things said to happen. They feel like the spirits there are very sad, probably because of the way that they were treated. And there's a couple of female ghosts there, and one of them is said to be super protective. And I don't know. The thing is about the ghost hunting that goes on here, it's like the ghost hunters hear stuff, but they're not able to actually catch stuff on their recorders. But it's also an outside area too. So they're probably like, I hear voices. And then they're like, yeah, but we're outside. It could be, or it could be, you know, a homeless person.
Yeah, it's highly questionable, so they probably don't put it out there. They feel maybe confident about it enough to tell people, but not necessarily to share it.
Yeah, right, exactly. But another one of the spirits that are said to be there, which is kind of interesting, is a real pissed off dude, an old angry gentleman who I guess does a lot of like vicious types of things. You feel very unwanted. You get chased. But so there's a lot of stones that get pushed over at this cemetery too. But it seems like the ones that are specifically around his tomb are related to him knocking them over. So can you imagine that? Like, how do you stop an angry spirit from knocking over the the gravestones?
No. I mean, like, how do you reprimand him and be like, you do that one more time? What are you going to do to him?
You know, it's so
I'm going to bring my sage out here, I promise.
I promise. So that's the funny thing. The protective spirit, apparently, the lady who has a tomb, I don't know, a little ways away. And this spirit apparently go head to head sometimes. I don't know how this all came to be, but it was in a book. They say that these two spirits have like ghost turf wars.
They fucking hate each other. They're stuck in this graveyard together.
They are. And so the ghost hunters are trying to figure it out. They're like, I don't know if these two had something, you know, in the real life, you know, were they lovers and now they died quarreling, or did they just hate each other in the real life? Or are they just two spirits that hate each other now? It's like they can't figure it out. But it's the wildest scenario because I've never been to a graveyard that had that much going on. It's like, and over in this corner, two quarreling ghosts. You know, it's like you pick an area of this location and you can go for the trees, you can go for the park-like setting. Some of the stones there are beautiful. I took one that said Dolly on it, and she had a weeping willow, you know, in the stone. And then there's one that's a hand with a heart in the hand, and the hand is in a star. I've never seen anything like that before. I've seen, you know, Oddfellows. They usually have the hand with the heart, but this one was a little bit different. There was no like the Oddfellows rings underneath it. It was all by itself. So they had some like different artwork going on some of these tombstones too, which to me, you know, I just dig that. I don't know if that's just a weird thing about me, but it's neat to go, you know, to try and, if you're ever going to try and connect with them, to pay attention to their stones, because obviously that meant something to someone to have put it on the stone in the first place.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thought that was interesting. That has nothing to do with my story. It was just my sort of, I wanted to tell you about that.
Well, no, I like listening to it. That place sounds crazy, like active with, you know, different things that you can reach out to that are very interesting, and you would want to explore their stories more if they would talk to you. But sounds like it's a bit contaminated with other sounds and stuff too.
Yeah, and people that are out there too. And, you know, so it used to have like this beautiful like running stream through there. And like I said, it's still very picturesque, but it's run down. Like there are historic societies that are trying to preserve it. They're trying to clean it up. They've put fences around some of these, like these mausoleums that have been quite abused. Like the windows have been smashed. They've boarded them up. They're trying to keep people from doing, you know, more damage. But, you know, as I've said in the beginning, the homeless have kind of taken over this area. So, and I'm sure they're not the ones going in with spray paint. They could probably care less, you know, but they're there as well. So if it is a place that you try to go and investigate, you have to be aware of those other elements that they do exist.
Yeah. Bring sandwiches to pass out.
Yeah, that's so true. Oh, I love that idea.
Yeah. There was a organization that we were involved with, and we would take like packaged food to a park that had a high number of homeless people there. But there was another organization that went out there with like just cooked fried chicken and stuff. So I mean, like they were definitely outshining us.
Oh, yeah.
But I imagine you could show up with some cooked food and be like, could you just like take that over there for a little while I investigate? I promise I won't touch your stuff.
Right. I just want to make sure that you don't make any noises or anything while I just recording.
Need it quiet right now. Actually, if you could watch the perimeter for me, that'd be great too. Right. Eat quietly, okay?
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh. But that's actually such a good idea. You're not only doing a favor and a service, you know, providing food, but you can also eliminate that possible contamination.
Yeah, you can just be like, I just happen to be a paranormal investigating organization that would love to donate this food to you for tradesies. Could you go out onto the street and then watch the perimeter, tell everybody that walking by to shh, shh. I bet they would.
I love it. That's brilliant. That is so brilliant. So aside from graveyards, I also had this wild hair to catch up on some BuzzFeed Unsolved. It's a fucking awesome show. They have so many great episodes. I really love Ryan Bergera and Shane Madej. Is that how you say his last name?
I guess. I don't really know. Ryan's name is Bergara.
Bergara. Okay.
Now Shane's, he never says it.
Yeah, I know.
You have to like do a little research to figure it out. So your guess is as good as mine as how it might be pronounced. But yeah, Ryan says his all the time. And it's weird that Shane doesn't. I realized that at some point and then got creepy on the internet trying to figure it out.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's got a unique spelling too, which makes it tough. So it's Madej.
Yeah.
So your guess is as good as mine.
Right.
And I was so far behind on watching these episodes because I was originally watching them when I was going to the gym. I stopped going to the gym and my plan was like, I'm going to watch these on my lunch break, which then turned into I'm going to work on my podcast on my lunch break. So,
right.
You know, I just got further and further behind. Anyways, I highly recommend watching it. It's on YouTube. They're free. They're the best. Just as a brief introduction, if you've never seen them before, Ryan is the creator of the show, and he kind of does this deep dive into a lot of like great unsolved mysteries, murders, supernatural, you know, all the things that your girls here, Wendy and Chris, really dig. So obviously this was a show that just gleamed highly to us.
Yeah. They're also very comical. They make a good team together. I saw on YouTube that they were doing like marathons or something. They're also on Amazon Prime. They have a couple of seasons on there.
Well, I'll have to check that out. Maybe that's where I need to go to catch up.
I mean, you can find it all on YouTube. That's where they were putting it before.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm still on YouTube. And like Wendy said, they are very comical. Between the two, Shane seems to be the one like on point, providing comedic relief. But he's also a total non-believer in the supernatural, which also makes, you know, this incredible duo. You know, you've got Ryan, who's even had paranormal experiences. Didn't he go on the Queen Mary and like he had like an experience in the room that he had rented out with like the toothpaste or something like lunging towards him? Do you remember that?
I think that was a retelling of someone else's story, I thought, about the toothpaste. But I don't remember. But yes, Ryan has had plenty of experiences. And then I feel like by now Shane's had a real experience and he just still wants to keep denying it.
I mean, I know people just like that. You know, it's going to take, you know, a filmed experience where everyone else can see a ghost like basically pushing him down on the ground before he'll say, okay, fine, I admit it. You know, it's there. So yeah, they're a really good pair. Find them on YouTube and watch them. As I said, I decided to catch up on their shows. And while I'm looking through their numerous episodes, lo and behold, while I'm flipping around, I see that they went to Tombstone, Arizona. And I'm like, sweet. Well, I've been there. Let's take a walk down memory lane. And that's not quite what happened. So they get to Tombstone, and you know what they did? They walked right past the birdcage. I'm watching, and I'm like, surely they're going to go back. They're just doing a little tour of the town, right? Nope. They take you on around town. They definitely did investigate the paranormal, but they do that at the OK Corral. And this is where there's like this whole side yard of wax figures standing out in a gun shootout type of a scene. And it involves Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp. And it's super cool and very historic. Also a little creepy for those of us who don't partake in the wax figures.
Exactly. They're at a good distance away from you, though, that they're not so close that they scare me super bad.
Right. Well, and they're outside, too. I mean, I feel like when they're inside in a creepy, dark, dusty location, it adds to the vibe. But if they're outside, I mean, it could just be like a prop. It looks more like a prop, right?
Yeah.
So they go to the OK Corral. They do a paranormal investigation there. They don't get anything. So they move on. They end up at Big Nose Kate's Saloon, where we got to go into Big Nose Kate's Saloon, but they got to go down into Swamper's basement/cave apartment gift shop area deal. It's kind of weird. I think that when we got there, it was just too late. We got to kind of look around the restaurant and peer into the dark downstairs from behind the gated entry. But I think that it was just, I don't know, after hours for them, so they'd closed up. We just couldn't go down.
Right. We missed it because I'm a terrible person and I'm late to like everything. And we were late to getting to Tombstone later than we expected. I don't even know what we were doing during the day. But yeah, we didn't get there quick enough. And then they were rolling up the streets. And so while the saloon was still kind of open because it's a bar, you know, they closed down the gift shop and I think they weren't even serving food.
Yeah. There was like, I think one family in there eating food. It was kind of bizarre because it's like we're trotting through with our black on black with, you know, whatever we can carry. We're ready for the ghosts, but we're grinning from ear to ear. We don't look gothic. We just look like weirdos in town.
As always.
So they, meaning Ryan and Shane, they get to go and investigate a little bit. Did they catch anything? Oh, I'm not going to tell you. It's such a cool place. And even if it didn't have a paranormal story behind it, the restaurant saloon with an access to an underground cave is all still pretty freaking cool to me. So I know Wendy told me before that she got to go down into the Swampers cave. Didn't you? Like when you were just touring it?
I've been down into the little gift shop, and then you can get to the door. It's got like a gate. Or I don't know. It's got something where you can see into it, but you can't actually walk in there to the caves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll have to go back one day because I missed going down to see that dusty little haunted hole in the ground. But also because something weird happened to a picture that I took outside of the saloon. Do you even remember this thing? The picture is just of the outside of Big Nose Kate's. I don't know. It did this weird fourth kind or old CCTV thing. It becomes very pixelated, but only at the bottom. You remember that?
Yeah. I do remember that.
And it was blurry on the top, as if like some other picture was trying to bleed through it, while it didn't do it to any of my other pictures. It was totally bizarre for that one picture. And I used my LG V20 cell phone at the time, not my handy portable CCTV, if that even exists. But just to refresh your memory, I know you said that you do remember it. I'm going to send it to you because it just kind of creeped me out. So there it is, just to refresh your memory. It's really weird.
Yeah, this is fucking nuts. It's so weird. And that you took this with a phone. Like, how many times do you see something like that happen on your phone's camera?
Oh, it's so weird. That's why I'm like, what is this? Like alien, hovered over us or something at the same time? Because there's even like these two tiny little jets of light at the top of the screen. And now that could just be honestly a reflection from the light through the window. But there's so many other things going on with this picture that the whole thing is tripping me out.
Yes. Okay. So there is like a stained glass or something, and you can see that in the picture. The light from inside the saloon is lighting up this stained glass window that's like of a woman, So maybe that could have caused some kind of issue with your light, but I don't know. It's really weird. It's kind of like when your old box TV is like fucking broke and you're not going to get an image down there anymore.
Yeah. So it's weird because I took it with, at the time, a pretty up-to-speed cell phone. I was seriously about to say telephone. Did you hear that?
Oh, I thought you were going to say telescope. I was like, what?
It's an amazing telescope that I kept in my back pocket.
You're a pirate now.
So yeah, I shared that back in 2018, but since I'm talking about it, I'll bring it back around so you guys can take a look at it and tell me if that's ever happened to you before and what you think.
I think it's weird. I mean, how long have we had phones that we've been taking pictures with, and we've never seen this really happen with another image?
My God, I think at least for 10 years, I've had phones that I can take pictures of. You remember when I got the first note and it was like the size of a Stephen King novel? And you and your sister were both looking at it like, what are you going to do with this huge thing?
It was a fucking tablet you were like talking on the phone with. It was ginormous, yeah.
Humongous. It was the size of a legit tape recorder, like cassette. So, I mean, it's been at least 10 years. So the fact that I got a picture that was so bizarre off of a cell phone, that doesn't happen. I would have to have like an app to create this effect. And I wasn't using an app. I was just using my button just to take pictures. So weird. Not saying it's paranormal, but it's definitely bizarre.
Yeah, agreed.
So BuzzFeed Unsolved finishes their tour at Big Nose Kate's. And that's it. They end their show. And I was like, they're really not going to the Birdcage Theater?
I mean, not that expensive. I think BuzzFeed's got the money for it. And they're just like, eh.
Right? That's exactly what I was thinking. It wasn't that expensive. We got in there. Their equipment is 1,000 times better than us. So I know they got some money.
Right.
So what the hell? I wondered, maybe it was booked that night and they couldn't investigate it when they were there. So, of course, I had to look into this now because my mind starts racing. I get all antsy. First of all, this episode was released in November of 2018. So it's not a new episode. Apparently, I've been out of the game for a little bit longer than I thought I had. And also, it's really cool to think about that because we were there in March of 2018. So maybe they couldn't get into the birdcage that night because we had it on lockdown.
I was like about to say, if you're telling me that they were there the night that we were there and we cock blocked them on the birdcage, I would like, How badass is that?
That would be pretty badass. Now, of course, I cannot prove it. I wanted to so bad. Like, it came out in November of 2018. They could have been there. It could have been, but I have no proof of any of that. I'm just saying there is always that amazing possibility that it could have happened. So while I was all giddy thinking about this, I remembered this other picture that Wendy took from the balcony of our hotel that we stayed at in Tombstone, which the hotel directly faced the Birdcage Theater. And she took this picture as the sun was setting and caught this dark image of a lanky-looking man who appears to be in a Union soldier attire. Clearly, we would have remembered if we had seen Shane Madej, if that's how you say his name, there. And I only mention that because the picture that Wendy took, it's of a dude who's kind of lanky, and so is Shane.
Right, yeah, it's true.
Dude also appeared to be wearing, like I said, Union soldier attire, and I feel like he would have stood out to either Wendy or myself because he looked a little bit out of place. He also seems to be walking kind of weird. I don't know, like he has extremely heavy and long arms or like octopus tentacles. He just walks kind of weird. So do you want to see that one again? Have you seen that in a while?
It's burned into my image. I'm fine. You don't have to send it to me because I wasn't looking for it. I was trying to get the sun setting. I don't know if in every shot you can see there's like two women, I believe, walking down the street in normal clothing. Now, if you've ever been to Tombstone, or if you haven't, I can tell you, people love to like dress up. They're all decked out in their cowboy clothing. But Union soldier clothing?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
No.
So I think it would have stood out. What he was wearing was weird. His coloration was weird compared to the other people on the street.
Yeah.
But like I said, at the moment, I wasn't observing the people on the street. I was looking at the sunset. So I can't say for sure that it wasn't just a really odd shot of some lanky dude walking down this dirt road. And, you know, maybe his clothing just happens to look weird. The lighting could have been off. There's so many things that are questionable about it because I wasn't trying to, you know, take a photo of the street and I knew for sure there were only those two women on the road. But it was so creepy because we've never caught an image so detailed.
Yeah, it was weird. Like Wendy said, like everything about him just doesn't really add up. You know, he looks gray in color. I mean, he's dark, definitely, because it's sunset. So everyone there is silhouetted to some degree. But you can definitely see this woman is wearing like stretch pants and sneakers and a jacket tied around her waist. And so is the other female that she's with. This guy here, I don't know, he just looks dated, but not like he's dressing up to play a role. He probably was dated. It's an interesting shot. We can't say that it's paranormal like Wendy just described it. She wasn't actively looking for the paranormal. She was just trying to get some shots of the freaking gorgeous sunset out on the desert. So when she showed me that one, it was just another one that was like, oh, I don't know. That's weird. So anyways, we ruled that picture unsolved. So I'm pretty sure that by now Wendy's already guessed what story I'm going to dish out to you lovely listeners. It's an oldie, but a very, very, very goodie. And one that we both decided is a place that came in full force for us when we investigated it. Today, the story that I am telling you is on our investigation of the Birdcage Theater in Tombstone, Arizona.
I honestly didn't know you were going to do. When you first started, I thought, I don't know, maybe she wants to do it on Big Nose Kate's. And then you left there and I said, maybe it's one of the other mini haunted places in Tombstone. Is she coming back around? I'm not prepared. Oh my God.
It's so funny. Like, seriously, I was writing this episode up until 6 o'clock. It's time for us to do it because I also had to clip all of my EVPs, get them ready.
I know. That's what I mean by not being ready because I haven't examined. Listen, guys, I know she just said it was 2018 and it's 2020 now, but it doesn't mean I have time to review evidence. So I've not reviewed my stuff. There could be a full-bodied apparition on some video or some amazing EVP. I can't share it with you. We'll have to have a part 2, 10 years from now or some kind of follow-up.
I don't expect you to rush and get it done. Honestly, I really wanted that walk down memory lane. Guys, you don't know this, but I was actually supposed to be in Arizona right now. Wait, today, Las Vegas with Wendy. We had big plans to do some investigating, and because of everything that happened recently with the virus, everything canceled. So I was really heartbroken about the situation, as I'm sure many, many people are. And I'm not trying to sound selfish here, but at least with this, I was kind of able to be in an investigation of our own and laugh at some of our experiences, listen deeply to some of the EVPs and stuff that we caught. So, and this is a pretty badass location. So
it is a badass location. And the fact that I haven't reviewed my evidence, I don't even know if that matters. I mean, like, yes, there could be something magical on that. But we had personal experiences while we were there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, even without not reviewing the couple of hours that we were there, I mean, we could still talk forever about this. It was pretty amazing.
I know. And also a reason why I knew right off the bat that this episode was going to run long. So we had originally planned to do 2 episodes each tonight. And I'm like, oh my God, this is ever going to end up the way it needs to be. It's going to run so long.
Yeah, I know I keep you here until like 2 a.m. sometimes talking, but we definitely, I told you this before, we cannot podcast until 2 a.m. because that would be a sloppy fucking mess. Oh, you were joking about us doing shots on the podcast. And I was like, well, shit, I don't have to put that much effort into my story then because I'd fucking bomb it anyways.
I know, right? So that was another thing too. Like right after I said that, I was like, damn it, don't say things like that now because I'm going to do the birdcage. This is one that we're wanting to stay alert for. Like we're on a real investigation here.
I love it though. Take me back.
I'm so glad because this was fun. It was fun going back in time to 2018. So, so the Birdcage Theater is one of the oldest original buildings left in Tombstone and one of the most authentic attractions in this once booming mining camp. Again, don't know why BuzzFeed Unsolved didn't go. The Birdcage Theater also has the reputation as being the most haunted place in town, having somewhere between 26 and 31 ghosts hanging around. The Birdcage Theater opened on December 26, 1881, and while owned by Lottie and William Billy Hutchison for the next 8 years, I don't know why it's in, was it like maybe we call him Billy, maybe we call him Willie, Will I am?
Billy was actually in parentheses?
It's in like quotations, like air quotes.
Quotations, that's what I mean, not parentheses. I'm a dummy. And I'm homeschooling my kid right now. The future of America is in trouble.
It's not easy being a homeschool parent. I couldn't imagine having to deal with that right now. Not the math shit. That would blow my mind. I understand why you're looking up YouTube videos for that stuff.
Oh, yeah, no. I can't even do the math. I'm like, where's your brother?
Ask him. Man, that would be me. Well, for the next 8 years, the Birdcage Theater would never close, operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Also called the Birdcage Opera House Saloon, the establishment featured a saloon, obviously, gambling parlor, theater, and a brothel. In no time, the theater gained a reputation as one of the wildest places in Tombstone. And it was so bad that the few self-respecting women in town even refused to walk anywhere near the place. Ugh.
What are they doing in that town anyways?
I know. Come on, haven't you heard about this? No, that doesn't make any sense. During the years that the theater was open, the wicked little place witnessed a number of gun and knife fights that took some 26 lives and left 140 bullet holes in the ceilings, walls, and floors, many of which can still be seen and in some cases even touched. So the theater was called the Birdcage because of its 14 crib-style compartments which suspended from the ceiling. And I hate the way that that's described because in my mind, I actually feel like it's these cages that are hanging from like chains from the ceiling, but it's not like that at all. That description really throws me off. It's walled up. Like you have to take stairs to get to it. You're not just like, thrown up into a cage, but that's just how it's described.
But it is like balcony style.
Yeah. Balcony
and
style.
I guess there was like a curtain or something that you close the curtain and then it's like, but people below could still hear you, right?
Oh, yeah. That's exactly right. That's funny because that's what I was going to say next. Because in those cribs, the working ladies would pull the drapes closed and, here are the air quotes again, entertain their customers. So yeah, you're gambling down there. So I guess you have to just be really focused on the game to not be like, well, hello, what the? Someone's having a good time. But one of the downfalls to working in the place deemed the wildest, wickedest night spot between Basin Street and Barbary Coast is, of course, the murdering.
That's problematic. Yes.
It's very problematic. Just as one unfortunate working girl discovered. So the story goes that when Margarita was sitting on the lap of a gambler named Billy Milgreen, a fellow working girl by the name of Gold Dollar, her real name was Little Gertie, also, just found that out. She walked in on this whole scene. Seeing Margarita on the lap of her best customer and boyfriend, Gold Dollar lost her shit. And she stabbed Margarita with a double-edged knife. She stabbed her deep into her chest, intending to cut out her heart.
Damn.
Yeah, when I said she lost her shit, I meant she lost her shit. Having almost completed the terrible act of ripping out that poor girl's heart, very Temple of Doom style, she was interrupted by the sounds of the marshal coming and got out of there with a quickness. Escaping out the back door, all covered in blood, she hid the knife somewhere out back, but because the murder weapon wasn't ever found, murder charges were never filed, and Gold Dollar got off scot-free.
That's fucking crazy, though. People witnessed it. Were they just like, I wasn't paying attention. I was playing poker. I don't know what these crazy bitches been doing.
Right? I don't partake in the affairs of crazy bitches. Just saying, officer.
Actually, a good rule to follow.
Very good rule to follow. Yeah, but it is crazy to think that lots of people had to have seen it. And they're just like, well, no weapon. Sorry. Case closed. Or not, because we don't know what the fuck happened, really. Amazingly, more than a century later, the knife was found behind the Birdcage Theater and is allegedly now displayed at the museum. I say allegedly because I was there and I don't remember seeing this. Also, I'm pretty sure that pictures of it would be on the internet somewhere. I'm not sitting here telling you that everything that's on the internet is true. However, this is a big piece of history. Someone had to have taken a picture of it and they're like, there it is. There's the blade that was missing forever and a day.
Yeah, and I've taken the night group ghost tour there, and you would think they would mention that because they tell her story. So wouldn't they say, and here's the murder weapon, let's hang out beside it and see if it brings up any activity. They didn't do that.
Maybe it's in the safe. I definitely don't think that it's on display. I looked through my pictures. There's tons of knives, but there's not one that says blinking lights. Hey, y'all, guess what this is? There's none of that. So I don't know where it is. It would be an awesome thing if it was there to hang around, and maybe that's why it's not there because, they do have props that you can play with, guns, for instance. Maybe someone would think that they could use it for a trigger item and get a little handsy with the stuff that you're not supposed to touch. So maybe they do keep it hidden.
I don't want to have a knife as a prop item, just so you know, as clumsy as you are.
No shit. It would end up stabbing me in the leg somehow.
Right.
So no, I definitely don't need to be around sharp objects, especially in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if getting killed by your coworkers wasn't scary enough, how about breaking your neck from a stunt called the human fly? As part of the entertainment, one act involved two working women that would walk upside down along the ceiling. Unfortunately, the clamp from one of the women's shoes slipped during the show, causing this woman to fall to her death right above the stage.
Damn, I don't think I knew that story.
Yeah, that's a rough one. That's bad. And that was the draw. I think they had posters and shit come see the human fly. And
yeah, I remember that.
So yeah, and it ended badly, clearly. I don't think they did that anymore after that.
I hope not.
Let's not. But one of its most famous distinctions was one of the longest running games of poker ever played. Seating 7 players plus a dealer, the minimum buy-in was $1,000, and the game was played around the clock for 8 years, 5 months, and 3 days. Sitting at this table were some of the country's most famous businessmen, such as Adolf Busch and George Randolph Hearst, as well as history's famous poker players, including Diamond Jim Brady and Bat Masterson. During the 8-year period, more than $10 million changed hands, with the house, of course, taking its 10% share. It was also here that Wyatt Earp carried on his affair with Josephine Sarah Marcus, who worked, air quotes again, at the Birdcage, allegedly as a singer and a dancer, though it was suspected that she was too a working woman. In March 1882, miners in the Grand Central Mine hit water at 620 feet. The flow wasn't at first large enough to stop work, but constant pumping with a 4-inch pump soon proved to be insufficient. And the silver ore deposits that were sought were soon underwater. Hutchison sold the Birdcage to Hugh McCrum and John Struth, And then this other gentleman enters the picture, and I assume that he was hired in to manage the theater. His name was Binion. He comes from San Francisco. He managed a theater there called Theater Comique, where he performed as a blackface minstrel and a clog dancer. He refurbished the building and renamed it the Elite Theater. He hired new acts, including his own wife, Big Minnie. She was...
Great name.
I can't imagine that he went home to his wife and he's like, "What's for dinner, Big Minnie?" I bet it was a different story at that household. And the only thing to note about her is that she was 6 feet tall, wore pink tights. She sang, she danced, and she played the piano. So she was a jack of all trades, Big Minnie. The large Cornish engines brought in by the mine owners kept the water pumped out of the mines for a few more years, but on May 26, 1886, the Grand Central Mine hoist and pumping plant burned down to the ground. And finally, when the price of silver slid to 90 cents an ounce, the remaining mines laid off its workers. Many residents of Tombstone left, and the theater, saloon, and brothel closed its doors permanently in 1892. So, for the next 3 decades, it would sit languishing in the desert sun. Amazingly, during this time, the bar, furnishings, fixtures, and drapes were not sold. And drapes, I mean, the ones in the cribs. They were probably pretty gross.
Right. I think they're gross now.
So in 1934, the Hunley family reopened the Birdcage Theater as a tourist attraction, keeping all of the original fixtures and furnishings in place. Today, the Birdcage Theater still stands as a museum and still run by the Hunley family. The hand-painted stage, which once featured the likes of Eddie Foy, Lotta Crabtree, and it's Lotta too, like whole lot of Crabtree, Lily Langtry, Lola Montez, and Lillian Russell, it still stands, along with the orchestra pit and its massive grand piano. The gambling parlor continues to feature the actual table where Doc Holliday once sat, and lining the walls are photographs of many who passed through its doors, as well as original paintings that hung in the establishment. The bar is intact, and the display behind the stage is Tombstone's famous horse-drawn hearse called the Black Mariah. This being the first vehicle to ever have curved glass, it is trimmed out with gold and reportedly worth nearly $2 million.
Yeah, the building itself is probably worth pennies, with the exception of it being a very historic place, so they could sell you on that. But the shape that it's in, rough. But the antiques that they have in there, oh my God, they could cash out.
It's amazing. Could you, imagine being the 30s and stumbling across this building. It's for sale. And us being the people that we are, who just love to scavenger for old shit anyways. This is the mine. This is the silver mine right here.
It's amazing.
It really is. So the vehicle, the Black Mariah, is said to have carried all but 6 of the deceased Tombstone residents to Boot Hill Graveyard and thought to be haunted. Along with the original items are the ruffled up beds and authentic clothes, as well as original faded carpets, drapes, and furniture. Doc Holliday's dental chair and the imminent death chair of Curly Bill are also there on display. Curly Bill, who was recognized while getting his hair cut in the chair, and shortly thereafter killed by Wyatt Earp, according to all the signs that are right next to it. So when the Birdcage reopened in 1934, strange things started happening. And according to the operators of the saloon, 26 ghosts apparently still love to party at this historic location in Arizona. Oftentimes, ghostly apparitions are spotted in 1800s-style clothing, while the most common apparition is said to be a figure of a male stagehand that appears wearing black striped pants, a visor, and holds a clipboard while walking across the stage.
Okay. Why's he got the visor on?
I don't know, but it's so like he's either acting out a part on the stage, like this is supposed to be a role, or he really is like supposed to be the bookie.
I know why they confuse him for like a stagehand. He seems like he's a part of like one of the poker proceeding things going on,
Yeah, I don't know. And when we were there, I don't remember there being access on both sides of the stage, but maybe it was just closed off. Maybe like where that mannequin is, maybe that was the other access point. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I bet that does connect as you're going up to the crypts. I bet there is like a little way.
And maybe it was a bookie who was just like, fuck it, I'm not walking through the dressing area. I'm going across the stage. And he always remembered that one time he had guts. So other occurrences include the sounds of rowdy laughter and music pouring from the doors of the old theater at night, while others report hearing the faint sounds of a woman singing and the museum's sound system being inexplicably turned on of its own accord, blaring old-time music. People have also reported strange sounds coming from the balconies of the main floor and the sharp scents of cigar smoke and whiskey.
How do you smell whiskey?
I don't know. But it's one of the common reports. It's so weird.
I've never been to a distillery before. Maybe there's an overwhelming scent.
Yeah.
I've drank whiskey before, and as your nose is up to the glass while you're chugging it down, of course you smell it. Is it like a ghost shoving a whiskey drink in front of your face?
Ooh, that's my kind of ghost. I mean, it is odd because when you walk into a bar, the first scent that hits you in the face isn't usually whiskey. Like, if anything, it's going to be beer because, beer's flowing through the taps all night long. People are spilling it. You don't usually get a waft of whiskey in your face. Now, I know this is the Old West, and shit, we're in Arizona. Weren't they getting, like, little things of tequila instead of whiskey? Am I backward?
No,
I guess.
I mean, I think that they could have different kinds of spirits there, and whiskey's a pretty common one. Maybe if everyone is drinking whiskey, the smell is very overwhelming.
Yeah, so maybe it would have been different back then. Instead of everyone drinking beer, because I don't know when
beer came to America type situation, yeah.
I should, because I did the Lemp episode not too long ago. I think that was the 1800s.
Yeah, but I think that probably, not as common nationally yet.
Right. Man, but can you imagine back in the day? Like, so you walk into the bar now and you get, your pint of beer or whatever, your favorite beer, because it's nothing but beer on tap. Everything from beer to cider. And then, yeah, I'm sure you can get your mixed drink, but hardly anyone's up there like, give me a shot of whiskey, right? They're all getting their beer. But back in the day, that's probably what they were doing. They were going up to the bar and they're like, just like, give me a shot of whiskey, right? Just keep them coming.
Well, they don't ask for like a whiskey and Coke. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, right?
It's none of that. So it's like whiskey. Right. That's all you say. And they give you like, what's a shot or two or whatever in a glass, I guess.
And you get hammered quickly. No wonder there were so many fights.
So they're pissy drunk.
Yeah.
They've been out in the fucking sun all day, too.
And they walk in just to quench their thirst with a bunch of whiskey. Done. Now I know why there was 146 bullet holes in this place.
Right.
Well, after closing time, staff have reported hearing the sounds of clanking glasses and cards being shuffled. The reports of hauntings at the Birdcage Theater date all the way back to 1921, when a school was built across the street and students began to report the sounds of laughter and music coming from the abandoned building, as well as smelling cigar smoke. I don't know how close the school was to this abandoned building, but if they could smell cigar smoke coming out, it seems like they were like right next to the place.
Yeah, no, the kids are probably out there fucking playing right in front of the building, or they're like, they hear that music and they're like, what is that? And they get closer and closer and then like, it smells like something's on fire in there.
Yeah. And it could have been, but it's interesting that back to 1921, they have ghostly reports. So I thought that was super cool. One particularly active spot for phantom-like photography seems to be in front of the poster of Fatima, the belly dancer. 99% of the time, quotes Teresa, a current worker at the saloon, you take a picture of Fatima and you will get something. Now she says 99% of the time. A woman once had her picture taken beneath the poster and discovered in the camera's preview screen another woman, a phantom, standing right beside her. When the visitor moved over to where the mystery woman's spot was and retook the picture, the apparition apparently traded positions. So she's like, nah, I'm getting in this picture, whatever side you want to be on. Is that side good for you? Okay, cool.
She's like, stop trying to cut me out.
Yeah. I think that's pretty badass. That didn't happen to us. We took a lot of pictures of Fatima. I took a lot of shots. I've seen a lot of shots on the internet. It's a very shiny poster. So please remember that, guys. If you are there and you've heard the stories, take a lot of different angles. Clearly, now, I didn't see this one where the phantom switched sides. That's got to be something cool as hell to see. I'd like to see that one. But it's easy to see faces on reflective surfaces, not just windows and mirrors and TV monitors, that are TVs turned off. It's a reflective surface no matter what. So just be careful with something like that. And I just wanted to put that PSA out there for you.
Good. And it's totally true.
Yeah. One of the stories from another one of the workers at the Birdcage is how a dice table, which weighed several hundred pounds, mysteriously moved the night before. I don't know what. I don't know why it says the night before. It moved around. Proofreading. I should do that sometimes. When staff arrived the next morning, the table had been moved in front of a door with a sign that read, "Don't disturb our 26 resident ghosts."
Wait, what?
Yeah,
the ghost
they're
wrote this
writing
note?
Yeah. Now, that's according to someone who works there. I don't have any pictures of it. Just saying. It's
Again,
interesting. Yeah.
They do ghost tours. They don't bring this piece of evidence out.
Right.
Was somebody like, that's trash, and threw it away by accident, or something?
It's very suspect. And I say that because when we had incidents occur to us, and the lady that was there with us that night, she came out. She was a very, very nice lady. I'm not saying anything against her, but she was very suspect of everything that we said. So for the birdcage to not document this in some fashion, I'm just kind of like, what is this shit? Really? What are you selling me here? They do seem to want to sell the ghost stories. They want proof of it. They want to show you what they've captured. They want to show you these things, too, when you go and you talk to them about ghosts. They're more than willing to open up about their experiences. So that's a weird story. It's out there on the internet, and I wouldn't be doing my due diligence if I hadn't provided it to you, too, on this podcast. So whether it's true or not, whatever, it's a story. It's out there. Another well-known story is that of the statue of Wyatt Earp. The statue was made and placed in one of the cribs overlooking the theater. And when it was first placed there, staff would arrive in the morning to find that Wyatt's hat had been knocked off and thrown onto the floor below. This occurred over and over for about 6 months. On one occasion, staff arrived to find the statue was even turned around. Now his back is facing. He's like, y'all don't get it.
I don't want to be here.
Sometime later, a local historian told the Humleys that they had placed the Wyatt Earp statue in the crib that was usually reserved for the Clantons. And when the statue was finally moved to the crib that Wyatt actually frequented while he was alive, the hat tossing just stopped. Have you ever seen, I know you've seen The Simpsons, and this reminds me of an episode that has nothing to do with the paranormal, but just the reaction I could see as a ghost. So there's this episode of The Simpsons, Sideshow Bob is walking around and he steps on a rake and it smacks him in the face. And he just stops and he does this weird groan. And then he turns and he starts walking and another rake smacks him in the face and he stops and he groans. The same thing happens over and over for like 30 seconds. And it's honestly the funniest shit you'll ever see on TV. I die laughing every time I see it. But he can't avoid these rakes and his utter disdain for the reality and the way that it's just, happening over and over was just so funny to me. And I bet that if you could have seen this ghost and this hat tossing scenario play out, they just take the hat and they march it right back up there and stick it back on his head. He's like, that's what I envision.
It's a good analogy, yeah.
This ghost is just like, I can't do anything, but come on. On another occasion, a valuable antique poker chip had been missing for years. Suddenly, it reappeared on the poker table. Upon finding it there, it was locked away in a safe so that this bitch wouldn't get lost again. They decided to have some historians come in and figure out the age and the antiquity of this coin. But when the historian arrived, the poker chips, they disappeared. Totally gone. They searched the safe. They basically tore the office up. They start accusing people of stealing shit. It's just not there. And then suddenly, after the historian leaves, they found it locked in a desk drawer. Just, here you go. It's there. And I thought that was really weird. Again, we're not there. These are just stories that are out there and they're strange. While we were there, we didn't have any of our equipment disappear and then reappear. So just another weird story from the location. The Birdcage Theater has been on a number of paranormal TV shows. So if you haven't heard of this prior to my story, I'd be super shocked. Aside from the numerous times that we've mentioned it, the Birdcage Theater has been on Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures twice, Ghost Lab, and Fact or Fate, Paranormal Files in 2011. Now, I decided not to add any of their findings to my story, only because I talk so much and know that once I start telling you all about our experiences, there's just not going to be any time left for any other stories. I'm sorry. So these shows are really good, and I will most likely link what I can on Twitter because we all need some good entertainment in our lives, especially right now. So look for that on our Twitter page. It's COTN Paranormal. So now, onto our fabulous investigation. And this location blew my mind. I am not exaggerating. We start off by taking a sweet little ride through the desert one afternoon in March of 2018 and make our way to the picture-perfect ghost town of Tombstone, Arizona. We parked behind the hotel. Like I said earlier, it directly faces the Birdcage Theater. The hotel was so cute. It was old-fashioned. The atmosphere was a good one. You know, it sits above a souvenir shop, which is where we acquired a bunch of goodies like some poker chips, some cards, and some sweet, new-to-us rags to dress up in while investigating. Mm-hmm. This was the first time we ever decided to dress full in character. We had talked about it before, but this was the first place we ever actually incorporated it. So we toured the town. We took some pictures. Like I said, we tried to see Swamper and all of that. We were late getting there. And I think that's because Wendy was just having too good of a time actually showing me more of Arizona. She said earlier, she's like, I don't know why we got there so late. I was enjoying every bit of it. I didn't realize what time was anything. You know, we got there and things were closing. I'm like, oh, shit. It's just that's what happens. Time passed by us too quickly.
Well, in our defense, towns like this, they close up at like 6 o'clock, which is crazy because there's so many like hotels, inns, B&Bs. What are those people supposed to do? We were all just hunkered down into our rooms for the night.
Yeah, as we saw, there was like a whole family, a sweet family. What were they playing? Skip-Bo or Steel or
something? They were just like playing cards out in the little like common area and everything.
Yeah.
It was really sweet and gave a homey feel to it.
It really did. It was nice. When we walked through there, it almost felt like we were walking through living room with like our family members just hanging out. It was like, oh, hey, what's up? Yeah. You know, it was just a nice, comfy vibe. Everyone there was super chill. So we did our tour. We took some pictures and we waited for the sun to set like a couple of very hungry vampires. We sat there staring at the birdcage. And around 10 o'clock, we were able to get inside the birdcage and get started. Now, the theater actually sets up a table for you there behind the stage, which is really nice. And they allow you time to get familiar with the location before they shut the lights out on you. Now, you still have access to electricity, which is kind of unique to us. We don't often get places to ourselves where we can like, well, my battery's dead. Let me just go and plug it in. That's nice. That's a bonus. And because they don't fully allow you in the building unchaperoned, one very nice lady by the name of Jennifer was there with us the whole night long. Though she stayed tucked away in her office, she did let us know in the beginning that she was there at our disposal and was more than willing to help us out if need be. She was very friendly, though we didn't interact with her again until like, I don't know, 2:30, 2:45. So Jennifer, if you happen to be listening, sorry.
I suspect that Jennifer was asleep. Or she had headphones in and she's watching something on her computer phone, whatever. Because we didn't hear a sound coming out of there.
No.
And then you'll get to it later, but we were noisy at times. Yeah. And it's not like Jennifer ever came in there being like, are you guys okay?
Yeah. She did come out later and because we asked her and she's just like, no, I had my headphones on. And I'm like, damn, what were you listening to? Death metal? Because I was screaming. How did you not hear me?
I forgot her saying that.
It was really cute. So if you get Jennifer, at least you know that you can go buck wild in this place. And she's just going to let you just run wild.
Because there's cameras in the office. Yeah. So she could see what you're doing. I mean, we weren't ever doing anything wrong. I don't think so. But yeah, she didn't seem to respond to any of it. She's really chill is what I would say. She's a good chaperone to have.
Yeah, she was a very good chaperone to have. I really like Jennifer. I think we really lucked out. I mean, I don't know. All of the people that chaperone could be just like Jennifer. So I could be wrong in my saying that we lucked out. But I was appreciative of the vibe that she gave off. She was just like, you know, I'm willing to help you guys out. I have no problems with, you know, sitting in and helping you. Like, you could almost see it in her eyes. She's like, please don't lock me up in that office all night.
But she seemed content in there. And yes, in a lot of locations, you know, an employee could be a good trigger item to have. The ghost might be more comfortable with her. But we were so invested in what we were doing, we just never asked her to join. Also, Jennifer had mentioned she was new, so...
Oh, she did? I didn't even remember that. That's funny. Okay, well.
She'd never been on one of these investigation things before. This was her first one. I think the owner guy had told me that. And so I was like, yeah, Jennifer can sit in the office. If we're not getting an activity, we'll go and grab her. But, you know, we were fine.
Yeah. Cute. I don't remember that. So maybe that's why she was late letting us in. We were standing out there like, let us in. It's time.
Can I say something about that real quick? When we were standing outside of the birdcage, we're sitting there and we see something coming down the road and we're like, what is that? And we're like, it looks like a horse. It looks like a man on a horse. It had gotten pretty close before we were like, is this real? What we're fucking seeing? But yeah, it was totally just a dude riding his horse down to the saloon that was a couple of buildings down.
Yeah, it was wicked. I took a picture in the dark with just my cell phone. So it was the terrible picture. It's like a black picture with more blackness. So you really can't even see. But I was so excited because I'm like, this could be a phantom. This is like, what is happening? Because it came in so quickly. It was such a cool experience to just be standing there. And then all of a sudden we're like, go, 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 go. And you hear like a here.
Yeah.
Should we be investigating out here?
It was just so strange because I remember us both being like, you're seeing this, right?
Yeah, right. So then we go in, we set it back there, and we begin with some of the trigger objects that we acquired earlier. Wendy is trying to drum up the activity, and she's playing cards. She's like, shuffling them. You can hear it really loud and clear. Acting like a dealer, and I was acting like a player. And she deals me a hand. We're both talking bullshit card talk, basically, using trigger objects and trigger words while playing with poker chips and the money, when suddenly we both hear footsteps come towards us. Now, I got that on audio. And this was just after we started. This was literally lights out and we just get to it. And there's already footsteps coming right towards us. And it seemed like we got someone's attention. We both heard it. Neither of us were intimidated by it, but both Wendy and I agreed that it was someone that maybe wanted in the game. So Wendy's like, okay. And she deals another round, or another hand deals another round. Am I at the bar or am I at the poker table? I don't know. So, but she deals a hand to the phantom player and the activity seems to move to another part of the room. And I'm like, I don't know if the phantom walked up to the table and saw that we didn't have any real money and was like, nope. So we start shifting around to try to get a better feel of the place. I get up and I'm taking pictures around the room. And as I suddenly see something dark inside the Black Mariah move, Wendy announces that she's getting goosebumps. All at the same time, the room becomes darker in that little area right behind the stage and also a little colder. And here's where Mr. Roger McFeely starts working his furry little magic. So we have this cute EMF temperature sensing bear, and he's turned on the whole time we're up behind the stage. And this is such a cool ass piece of equipment because it looks like a sweet little stuffed animal, and it's constantly trying to stir up the activity by asking questions. And it also lets you know when there's a temperature change. It's like the best baby alive ever, Also, I personally feel like it aided in specific activity that we had later on. But at this time, it's just rambling on and on while we're just sitting talking to it. It's like another person on the team at this point. I even said it's like a ghost hunter's babysitter, which clearly it was keeping us entertained. So anyways, because of the activity, I had pulled out and started using a thermal imaging camera. This was actually an attachment that plugs onto my cell phone, and it allows you to see changes in temperature. The one I have is a Seek thermal imager, and it's a great little tool. It comes with a hard shell case too, so you can totally carry it wherever you want to go, just like I do. But just so you know, if you get something like this, it clicks every time it refreshes, which it does continuously. So you have to know that when you're in a dark, new area, because this noise is something that happens a lot. You don't want to confuse it with something paranormal.
Yeah.
Anyways, all of a sudden, it's having a hard time focusing. It starts getting blurry, and I've never seen it do that before. Yeah, clearly it's a camera, so it should be focusing, every now and then. Maybe it has a bit of a hard time, but it really took its time. I mention it in the audio that I heard, and it wasn't picking up any heat source. It just was really struggling to focus. And at that same time, both Wendy and I hear a loud beeping indicator sound. So Wendy decides that it might have been her camera, thinking that it's shutting off. So she gets up to go and check it out. Meanwhile, my thermal imager stops doing its weird out of focus thing, and we decided to move on to another spot. And we kind of have to. So I didn't mention it earlier, but we didn't get the location for a full night. I think we only had the place until 3 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah, I think we had it for 5 hours.
Okay.
So we had decided to divide up our time in each space to make sure that we didn't spend the whole night in one room and be like, shit, we didn't investigate the rest. So.
Right, exactly. So even though I'm having some kind of equipment malfunction and something's going on with Wendy too, it's not supernatural enough for us to have to say we're staying planted right here. No, we need to keep moving because we have limited time in this location and we got to make the most of it. So at this point, we packed up and we moved down to the front of the theater. I think this is more of the gambling area, right? Where you look up and all of the cribs are around you in this area.
Yeah, so it would have been the theater where they would watch shows, or
Yes.
maybe the casino floor, because they do have like some roulette tables or something set up there.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of tables they are.
Sure.
I would not do very well in Vegas. Maybe best we didn't make it there.
Oh, so well, at this point, we run down to the front of the theater, but only after Wendy and I get all decked out in our Wild West skirts and our showgirl feathers. Speaking of Wendy not doing good in Las Vegas, she had it going on this night. And I'm just saying that because listening, Wendy, to you and how you put on this act, I was laughing so hard. I obviously can't put the whole 5 hours of audio on YouTube, which is too bad because it's really, really funny. I even had to stop and tell Brandon, I was like, we shouldn't have a podcast. We should have a show. We are hilarious.
Well, I did take drama in high school.
You were so good. When Wendy put on that skirt and that feather, she became somebody totally different. As a matter of fact, when we were our characters, we even had new showgirl names. I don't know if you remember this, Wendy, but you decided that I should be Big Booty Chris, and Wendy was White Girl Wendy.
That's not going to bring all the boys to the yard.
No, our names were really odd. I think I tried to slide by with Chlamydia Chris, but Wendy wasn't having that.
No. That had to go onto YouTube, and like some ghosts responded at that time. I couldn't allow that to get out there.
No, it was so funny. So we don our outfits and our feathers and our new names, and Wendy just straight up goes for it. She starts letting these spirits know that we're there and that we're a little new and could really use a little help working a big place like this. Wendy says, "Can someone here show us the ropes?" And suddenly 2 footsteps are heard coming right towards us. But then there is also this very gurgly voice captured, which we didn't hear at the time. We just heard the footsteps, which sounds like either help them out or help them now. So someone was like, these girls, please.
Obviously, they made terrible names. One of them did.
But the voice is so low, like so many of the EVPs that I caught. It's so low. So when I clipped it, and like I did with all of the EVPs, I put it over and over again at the end, like we used to do clips where it's just the tiny fragment of the EVP. That's all you get to hear. Well, we learned from that it doesn't really help anybody listening to this what's going on. So I've the whole scene where the EVP is heard, and then I've clipped the EVP twice at the end so that you'll hear this gurgly, raspy type of a voice that's captured. And like I said, it either says to me, help them out or help them now. The funny thing is, the footsteps are almost not even heard on the audio. We heard it, but you can barely hear it on the audio, just the voice. And like I said, in that moment, all we heard was the footsteps, not the voice. So it was reverse on the audio.
Weird.
It is weird. And that happens over and over again. I don't know why. And look, we've been doing this for 10 years. We know that audio is so sensitive, it picks up everything. Like, I've heard my stomach gurgling multiple times while I was listening to the audio. And Wendy knows about that. Like, we try so hard to not move the recorders because they're so sensitive. So when we hear footsteps and it's not picking it up, what the hell? Like, that really baffled me. A lot of the things that weren't caught that we heard and reacted to. So moving right along. And then again, I'm at a point where something weird is going on with my camera. But this time, it's not the thermal camera because I had switched to my combo night vision and full spectrum. This is set up on a tripod. So it's one on the right, one on the left. And with my beautiful brand spanking new, never before been used, very powerful IR full spectrum light. I'm very proud of this if you couldn't tell. And I'm currently using this setup to take pictures when all of a sudden my camera switches modes from picture mode to video mode. And all completely on its own. I couldn't figure out what's happening, why this is happening, or how to even switch it back. This really catches me off guard, and I struggle again with my equipment. But as this is happening, I look up from this super irritating situation and notice that the whole room has suddenly gotten dark again. And I suddenly see a misty anomaly right by the poker table just appear, just like a white misty blurb. And like I mentioned it, and the thing is that I didn't even catch on to this pattern of equipment malfunctioning, lights dimming, things appearing. I never even caught on to that. Even after our night, I don't even know if we discussed that happening. But listening back to the audio, I'm like, this seems to be a pattern here. This is happening a lot. And we've been ghost hunting long enough to know that equipment malfunctioning can be a paranormal sign, though that is never the first thought for either of us when it happens.
No, not at all. We try to be reasonable, and we just think that our shit's fucking failing us.
Yep. We're in the dark with some equipment that we've rigged up together, and always take a malfunction as it having a very logical explanation. So when the misty figure appeared, I was all on it. I didn't even remember that my camera was like on the fritz. But a second later, my camera switches by itself all again on its own. I'm just holding the tripod. I'm not holding any buttons. It switches from video to standby and stops recording. And then the battery is suddenly drained down. Nothing. This bitch went from alive and kicking to, well, I'm here, to go on without me in a matter of a minute. That was it. At this time, Wendy realizes that her camera must have also shut off and come back on from earlier in the evening when she heard it beeping. She realizes that there was a total unexplained gap in the time that it had recorded, which shouldn't have been there because she had set it up to record nonstop.
Right. Yeah, I remember seeing the time was different, and I think I checked it out, and there was another video. This camera wasn't in the same room with us when we were behind the stage, so nobody was touching it. We weren't there to touch it. It wasn't one I was holding or anything. It was on a tripod, and it just cut off and then cut back on.
But if I remember correctly, it was all the way against like the stage itself, like by the stairs.
Right, yes.
Let's just say, for shits and giggles, had Jennifer come out just to fuck with us, first of all, the floor is squeaky as all get out. So we would have been like, footsteps. We would have been on it. But it was in a position that you would have had to have done some serious maneuvering and known how to do that in the dark to make it stop because of the way it was positioned. You would have recorded it too.
Oh, yeah. There's just no way that was it. When we were behind the stage, you could still see into the other room for where I was sitting, which allows you to see the door that Jennifer would have had to come in. The light has to stay on in the front bar area. You know, you would have seen somebody moving around. There was nobody there.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of things that would have had to have occurred for that to have been a human interference.
Right.
So we make our way back to the front of the theater upstairs to investigate voices that we heard, and we decided that it was clearly people at the bar next door to the birdcage leaving. As we're talking about everyone leaving and we get back into character, Wendy then sees a ball of light hop in front of her. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
because it was so fucking weird. I've never seen that before. It's like it hopped towards me, coming at me, and I'm like, excuse me. And then it's just gone.
Well, it's so cool because, again, this isn't video. This is just audio. And we both react to something at the exact same time. I didn't see the ball of light, but Wendy did. I heard something. So at the same time, Wendy didn't hear anything and I didn't see anything. It was wild. And this is also kind of a dynamic that Wendy and I have that I've noticed just all along. We will be experiencing something at the same time, but it's always usually something completely different. It's like, at this moment, I'm hearing something. I'm facing the same way Wendy is. I don't see it. I might not be looking in the right place, but Wendy's right there. She should have heard it, but she saw something instead, something completely different.
Like different senses being activated between us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's our awesome dynamic. Next, into the basement we go, where the longest poker game in history was played. Now, down here, you have access to the gift shop, which we didn't investigate, but for like a few minutes. I mean, I think we just felt weird being in the gift shop. Like, not weird like paranormal, but just weird being around like postcards and T-shirts. And it kind of takes you out of your element, you know? Especially since we were already dressed to be in the Birdcage Theater, not like the, hey, you want to buy some stuff?
Yeah, it has all this new stuff in it. And it's kind of like you're all invested into these original parts and these antiques. And then you walk into there where they, like you said, they've got postcards and T-shirts and hats and stuff. And so it was right behind us. Had there been activity, we should have heard it.
Yeah, it totally takes you out of the whole vibe walking in there. It's almost like, you're walking through the wild, wild west and then you go into Walmart. It's just a completely different element. So we didn't hang out there at all. We didn't catch anything. Yeah, like Wendy said, we would have heard something. We heard shit all night long and it never came from back that area.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So we moved into where all the action was, so to speak. We decided to hold a spirit box session there and started hearing voices. Some voices were coming through the speaker of the spirit box and other were just voices. They're like now trying to shout over the spirit box thing, right?
They're like, turn that thing off. So fucking annoying.
I can't blame them for thinking that. It is obnoxious. But you get results too. I mean, in this case, they're getting frustrated. Now they're having to shout over it or they're talking through it. So either way, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
As soon as Wendy turns on the spirit box, she asks, is anybody here with us? And right away, there's a word. It either says indeed or it says Wendy. Both times I heard it, I immediately thought it said Wendy. Now, like, trying to reason this out and be like, it's a reasonable answer, it should be saying indeed. I swear to God, it says your name. And even on the recording, I'm like, did it just say Wendy?
Well, that's a reasonable answer, too. It's like, is anybody here? And they're like, yeah, you are, dummy.
You are.
Why are you asking that fucking question? You two chicks are sitting right here.
That's funny. A cynical ghost. I like it. So Wendy, staying in character, she says, are we not your type? And there's a yes on the spirit box.
Yeah, it was like, you're not. Are some other girls going to show up later?
It's coming in around, 2. It was funny because I heard that on the spirit box. I did everything possible to not just bust out with my donkey laugh because I was like, holy shit, they are calling us out on this. So shortly after that, Wendy hears a loud bang come through the spirit box, while I actually heard a hiss. After reviewing it, it's a bang. It's what Wendy says she hears. After I reviewed it, I can see why I actually heard a hiss. Wendy is asking at that moment, where did you go, the female that was just talking to us? The bang comes at the exact moment she used the word us.
Yeah.
So, right?
So I'm the hiss.
Exactly. I pick up on the us, and it's like a bang at the same time. So I'm like, whoa, like maybe I was dozing off for a minute there or something. I'm like, yeah, I heard a hiss. And Wendy's like, no, I heard a bang. I was like, well, that's weird.
Well, you did hear a hiss.
Yeah, just Wendy. And another time we get a name, very loud and clear. The voice says Ed. So great. We have a name and we try to connect with Ed, but we don't get much more after that. So Wendy asks, okay, Ed, are you playing poker? And a voice is heard, but this time not from the spirit box. And it says no, and it's very low, and I got it on audio. I heard it, and the funny thing is, I'm like, did you just hear a no? And Wendy's like, I don't think so. I said, it didn't come through the spirit box. Like, I heard a voice. And you're like, oh, well, then I totally didn't hear it, and which makes sense. Wendy's standing right there with this fucking box in her hand, which
yes.
You can't hear anything else. So, but I do have it on audio, which is cool. I've at least got that little piece of evidence. There's a voice. I got it. So then again, the activity seems to shift to a completely different area. We are in the downstairs basement area, and now we're starting to hear noises upstairs. But just then, there was a whisper captured that I couldn't really clearly make it out. And at the same time, you heard another noise. We felt like this was like a cat and mouse game, like either bored with us and it was trying to pull us in different directions. Maybe it wanted to get back to its poker game, and they're like, I don't know, make some noise upstairs. See if they'll go up there. So we play along. We continued to get low voices that are just too tough to make out. Like, I didn't even clip them. You guys would listen to it over and over again and be like, why the fuck are they even putting this on the... I didn't do it. I'm not going to put you through it. I'm putting too many of them up there for you to have to sit through. So these I left out. We heard more footsteps, more noises, and continued to feel cold spots. But something else that I thought was good was that I learned that we had a couple of different personalities in the saloon. This is funny. So there was a point when we were kind of messing around, as I'm sure you didn't. What, Chris and Wendy mess around on a ghost investigation?
What? We goof off and don't take things seriously sometimes?
I know. This is a shock. So, but we're not getting like full on answers, and nothing really is seeming to jump out. So we're at this point just throwing anything to see what it sticks to the wall. I don't remember this fucking...
We're throwing anything out there to see if it sticks.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Thank you. So I am asking for the spirits to tell us who their favorite paranormal investigator is.
Because so many people have been there, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I tell the spirits, oh, come on, just tell us your favorite is Ghost Adventures, and then we'll be famous when we catch your EVP. And just as I'm saying that, there is a woman's laugh heard in the background. It is not mine because I'm talking. It is not Wendy's because I know her laugh. It's like a ha, like right then. Like I caught this woman off guard, and she's like, that's funny, knee slapper. But then as we continue with this little charade, there's another voice that we caught, and this one's from a man, and he seemed to be fucking irritated.
Aw.
Yeah, this is funny. Either from the subject of ghost adventures being tossed around or because we were patronizing them. I'm not so sure. It's so low, but I had to clip this one because it was so funny to me. And you'll have to listen to it a few times just to fully get it. To me, I swear it sounds like he's saying, I wish she'd shut up. And, I'm listening to my audio in my house while I'm doing my regular day-to-day stuff. So I'm like making dinner and I heard this and I'm like, oh my God, did that really just say that? So I had to stop. I almost burnt dinner. I'm like, wait, I got to hear this again. I almost fucking deleted my audio because I'm like scrambling to hear this again. I listened to it and Brandon, my husband, he's playing computer games and I'm just like donkey laughing there in the kitchen because I'm like, this ghost just said, I wish she'd shut up. Greatest. It's the greatest. It's a low EVP. He didn't want to spend much energy on that, but he thought it and I caught it. So it's good.
Well, he already told us we're not his type. We're wasting his time, basically. I guess this was Ed all along. And he's like, could you two cackling bitches just go somewhere else?
Keeping me up. Oh my God, it was so funny though. I loved hearing that EVP. But we didn't hear it at the time. It was afterwards, which is unfortunate. Had we known that that was Ed, I probably would have tried to talk to him a little bit more, maybe even piss him off a little bit more because I wouldn't have shut up. Clearly. So from here we move to the front of the saloon where the bar is. So that ghost kind of got his wish for the time being. And we hang out there for a little while. At this point, we're kind of like, yeah, we should pull in Jennifer, during our investigation because it kind of seemed like things weren't really active. It didn't seem like things were happening like we were expecting. And now maybe it's time to use a little, trigger object, someone who works here. But we went with plan B instead, which was no Jennifer. We decided it was time to use some of the saloon's props. They're awesome antique guns. Now, we were told that we could use these, so it's not like we went full on rogue, like, we're taking y'all's guns.
No, he totally told us we could, and that doesn't mean that everybody is entitled to it. You should ask before, because it was just the two of us. I think they highly suspected they can't cause too much trouble. We can, actually. But we didn't. We didn't break anything. I guess we're really not that bad.
Yeah, and not that bad that time, because I swear to God, I would go again and probably do the complete opposite. I'd break my leg or something, because I'm usually super clumsy. And there are a lot of things in the dark that you could easily run into, so just be careful. Pull a stunt like what I just decided to do. So we both go into the gambling and stage area. After Wendy and I talk it out, we come up with a plan on what we're going to do.
Our scene that we were going to perform.
Our performance. I've got the guns and Wendy's got the camera. And I run in acting like I'm there to rob them. I've got both guns in the air and I'm firing at the ceiling. And of course, you can't fire these guns, but I need to make it as realistic as possible. So I'm shooting off with my mouth. I'm like, pew, 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 pew. And like I'm talking real super impressive Western style gunslinging fighting words like the rootinest, tootinest gunslinger in the West. And I'm here to rob all of you, give me all your money or I'll shoot the place up some more. And then I pew, 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 pew. You just being silly, just trying to stir up some emotion or anything because it kind of seemed like nothing was happening, which is funny because, just a few seconds ago, this one ghost was just like, I wish she'd shut up.
And then we just go in so much worse.
Right. No kidding. Because here I am. I'd say I was a good few feet away from Wendy. I feel like you and I had a pretty good distance between us.
Yes, a little bit to that. As soon as we walk into the room, my jacket gets stuck on the fire extinguisher that's on the wall. So all of a sudden, I'm trying to record you because this is magic that's happening. But I'm also like, what the fuck has a hold of me? So I'm panicking a little inside. And it took me a minute to realize that I was hung up on the fucking extinguisher.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because you stayed so far away from me. I was almost like, did I come on too strong?
Well, I didn't want to move around either,
yeah.
To contaminate any noise that we might pick up. So I'm trying to stay still, but also I could not go in any further.
Yeah. The fire alarm, too. You just think if you had jerked that and the fire alarm just went off.
Oh, it was the extinguisher. So, yeah.
Okay. Oh, God.
That would have been worse.
It would have been much worse. Oh, my God. That would have been so bad. It was like, no, it was ghosts. We didn't do nothing.
What? They knocked that off the wall. All their antiques, ruined.
Oh, God. It could have been so much worse.
You think you're the clumsy one.
If it it was me, if I was the one holding the camera, it would have been a bad situation. Thank God it was you instead. So I ran in there and I'm shooting off. And like I said, Wendy's a few good feet away from me. Now I understand why she was hung up on the fire extinguisher. But, and I'm doing this act and I'm acting silly and crazy and loud. And in the middle of all of it, suddenly there were these few steps that came right towards me. And honest to God, I felt it more than I heard it. And I reacted. I'm like, whoa, shit. I'm like, Wendy, did you hear that? And Wendy's like, yeah, steps. Yes. Those were her words. She couldn't say it fast enough. When you listen to the audio, it's where are the footsteps you guys are freaking out about?
That's so crazy because I think I watched the video of it too, and you couldn't hear the steps. It was so loud when we were there. It was undeniable. It's in the room. It's right there. And it couldn't be but 6 or 4 feet away from you.
Right. I mean, I felt like something was about to lunge at me. And a minute later, after I collected my thoughts, okay, there's nothing here, but I still need to. That's when I said, it's just a joke, guys. Ha! We were just playing. Remember we said earlier, this is a vaudeville act. Ha ha! These are fake guns. Just kidding. Thanks so much for your time. And we're got the fuck out of there. It was so real. The way I even remember it, I felt it coming on, and I heard those steps as if they were as if anybody wearing boots walking on hardwood floor was right next to me. When I went and listened to the audio, it's so disappointing. And like you said, you saw the video. It's the same bullshit.
Yeah, because I was trying to clip it for something else, and it was just wait, where the fuck are the magical footsteps?
I'm still very grateful that you have that on video because, I remember the reaction that I have, but I'd like to see it. I'd like to see, did I actually, jump up?
Oh, yeah, you backed up for sure.
Yeah, okay. In my mind, that's what I did. I can play out the scenario over and over, but this was 2018, and they always say that, the longer you think about things, the more details that you add that weren't really there. So it's so hard to not have that, backing on the audio, because I felt it more than I heard it, but I heard it. It was more than 2 steps. It was boom, boom, boom. And I was like, whoa, what the fuck is coming for me? It was a joke.
Yeah.
Funny, haha. Just kidding.
I've only ever heard one other set of clear footsteps before, and that's when we were in Villisca, and we were in that bedroom, and we were hearing footsteps on the stairs, and it was obvious that they were on the stairs, and that you're hearing them, and nobody was in there. These footsteps were that good, and better because we were in the room. It was happening.
Yeah.
But fucking crazy that it didn't show up on audio or in our cameras audio.
Bonkers.
What the fuck?
Heartbreaking. It hurts because, I've never been threatened by a ghost before, and I'm not I want that to happen again. But at the same time, I would like to have that evidence to be I got threatened by a ghost. Do you want to hear it?
Well, you don't know what their intentions were. We were threatening them, so of course they would be defending. So it doesn't mean that they're bad spirits or anything. We came in as the villains. It's just crazy that it was such a powerful moment, and it's no, you don't get to keep it.
You don't get to keep it. And what's funny about that is there's been so many times when we've had these powerful moments and we have equipment and we're not using it, so we don't capture it. This is the one time we've got the equipment that we're using and it still doesn't capture it. So
Right.
It's come on, throw us a bone.
Yeah.
So it's gut-wrenching when you realize that you have to go out of your way on most cases to not let your audio pick up your stomach gurgling. So when something this powerful happens and it doesn't even pick it up, it's what the hell am I doing wrong? So that was that. It was a very powerful moment for both of us and clearly something that I'll never forget. So now that it's nearing the end of our night, we've come full circle and we are now back behind the stage where we started our investigation. And at this time, Wendy and I decide that we're going to go ahead and bring in Jennifer. She was super nice and she's just sitting in that office all night long and that's kind of got to suck. So we just decide that we're going to make a few adjustments to our equipment, switch out cameras, change batteries for the last few moments that we had left at the Birdcage Theater. The battery on my awesome new IR full spec light had pretty much bit the dust, so I had to replace it anyways. I popped the light off my tripod with ease and then change out the battery. Everything seems to be so simple. But then I noticed that something just wasn't right. My fucking light wouldn't come back on. I'm trying so hard not to use the F word, but this is just, it's emotional. So I take it apart and I check to see if I put the battery on backwards because, sometimes you do that. No, the battery is not on backwards. But at this time, I realized that one of the connectors, one of the prongs that would connect the battery to the pack itself is no longer there. the old battery still sitting on the table. So I pick it up and I look at it, and the friggin' prong is stuck in the 9-volt battery, just hanging out. I'm like, no, my friggin' light is now deceased. Like, so many things were racing through my mind at this exact moment. This can't be happening. This light is brand new. We're also investigating the Jerome Grand Hotel. What the fuck am I supposed to do? It's like, so many emotions are racing through my body at the moment. And I'm just like, I can't do anything. I don't have a soldering gun here. I can't fix this. So I decide that it's not worth the pain and suffering. I've only got a few more, minutes left. I decide that I'm going to go old school. I am defeated. I decided to break out my backup night vision light. It's not as good as my new one, clearly, because I would have been using it, but I need to use something. I'm still totally focused on the broken light and my broken heart.
It's true, though. I mean, like, these are not things that we can go to Walmart and replace.
No.
You have to order them online. You usually have to wait quite some time because these are basically like homemade products. So it's such a bummer. And then, you spent money on this. So you were like highly upset. I'm trying to, say the right things so that you'll be okay. We just have like 30 minutes here. So we've got to kind of like get it together.
No, she's right. So Wendy is, basically like rubbing me on my head. Like, it's okay. These things happen. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I got to pull my shit together. I still have everything in my hand. I turn to the left. I'm standing like in front of the table, but I have to maneuver around the chair, which I knew it was there because when my light was still working, I saw that shit. So I only turn to the left so that I can walk around the chair and go to my bag. And as I turn to the left, I see a little boy standing right there, just clear as day. I mean, he was glowing. He was so fantastically bright that you couldn't miss him. It was as if there was a spotlight pointed right at this little child with his wide eyes. And what does Chris do? Holy shit! I freak out. And then, like, as soon as I do and he disappears, I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. And Wendy, like, right away, she says, like, what did you do now? Like, what the fuck did you break? No, honestly, I don't even know if that's what you said, but you don't see what I see clearly because your reaction isn't, hey, what's a little small boy doing here? You're like, what the hell's happening?
No, and also I was on the other side of you. So you said you're turning to the left. Yeah, I was on your right side. I technically probably couldn't see him.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily believe that everybody has the same visions or they're not, connected in the moment at the exact same time to be able to see to these other worlds. So even if I was on the other side of the room and should have had a clear shot of what was going on, I don't think that it disregards it as being an experience in paranormal if I wasn't seeing it at the time because my mindset could have been somewhere else where I wasn't as open as I should be.
Yes, totally true. We didn't rehearse this. It's just that we've been through this scenario 1,000 times. Wendy remembers exactly where she was and I remember exactly how I was. I mean, this is burned into our minds. I turned to the left. I screamed. I saw this little boy. He was so close to me that I felt like he was also interested in this stupid broken light that I was broken up about. Like he wanted to see what was in my hands that was so interesting. And we're there all night long trying to drum up, activity. Hey, are you here? Hello, what's your name? What you doing? And then all of a sudden we're like, what's this in my hands? And I turned to my left and looked and there he was, wide-eyed, little mouth, little head, just little features. I saw the suit. He was dressed very formal. And I don't know if this was like a burial outfit or if it was like a birthday suit. Shit, I don't know. He had a white shirt on. He was wearing a suit, but shorts. He had socks that came up to his knees, and everything was either dark gray or black. He had dark hair. It could have been dark brown, but it was just everything was either white or black on this child. And, at the time I saw him and I freaked out immediately. I knew that he was gone because he disappeared. He was just no longer there. And I felt so stinking bad. Here's like my one chance. I've been looking for you all night. Where are you at? And here he is. And then I scream. So he dissipates. I do my best to apologize. We try very, very hard. Wendy even said, it could have been Joshua. That's possible. But even if it's not, we don't know your name. Can you tell us who you are so that we can, tell you that we're sorry? We didn't mean to frighten you. We did everything we could to try and come back. Yeah.
Well, like apologize to him because you can imagine any child when they get like screamed at Even if it's not like my own children, raising them when they were younger, or even now, if I'm like, get pissed off about something or I hurt myself and I scream.
Oh, yeah.
They immediately kind of project it on themselves. Did I do something? Especially when they're younger, they're like that. So we tried to make strong apologies to this child spirit and then try to bring it back to communicate with us.
And I don't think I mentioned it this whole time during the podcast because I wanted to leave it till the end, but we had heard going into this that there were children spirits here, one by the name of Anna and one by the name of Joshua. So immediately, you know, when I see the little boy, I think, well, this must be the boy spirit that everyone speaks of. The interesting thing, well, I thought it was interesting. I think you did too. We finally go and get Jennifer, I mean, not because we need her, but it's because it's time to wrap that shit up and we need to get going. And we're telling her about our experiences that night. And we let her know, like, the very first thing is, did you hear us freaking out? And she's like, no, I didn't hear anything. That's why Wendy was like, yeah, that bitch was sleeping. Because not only did I make a ton of noise with the guns, pew, 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 and stomping around and all of that, but when I saw Joshua, I wasn't quiet about it. I mean, I freaked out unnecessarily, but that's apparently how I react to seeing spirits. Sorry, spirits.
Don't feel bad about freaking out about the ghost. I think that that's a natural reaction.
I think so too. You know, then you process it and you're like, damn, I can't believe I did that. But so we're telling Jennifer, we don't even go into like everything from the night. We're like right away, we're telling her about the little child that I just reacted to. And she asks, how old do you think he was? And right away, like, I'm thinking between 3 and 5 because he was such a little guy. I mean, he wasn't a baby, but he was still clearly a little guy. And she's like, oh, well, that's really weird because Joshua was 11 years old. And I'm like, well, he was nowhere near 11. So I don't know. Do we know really how old Joshua is? There's a spirit there that gives answers from time to time, but there's also the Black Mariah. So it might not be Joshua. We don't know, but to me, it'll always be Joshua. And that was the first thing I thought of. So that's who I'll always consider that little baby angel being.
And there has been other people that have said that spirits can kind of manifest in whatever form, age that they want to. So they might have died an elderly woman, but they come back as their 25-year-old self. Like, who's to say that he couldn't appear at a different age and he could have been a totally different child? There's a lot of antiques in that room that come from all over the town that they've collected. It just could have been someone that they've never experienced before.
Yeah, that's so true. And it was so funny because, you know, as we're telling Jennifer about all of the things that are going on, you know, she's just like really acting weird. She's just like, those aren't like normal occurrences. I think she's waiting for us to say, yeah, it smelled like whiskey or cigar smoke. You know, like I said, I mean, you heard all in the beginning of the story, all of the regular occurrences that happened there. Those kind of things didn't happen to us. I wouldn't say that that's not a sign of anything. What we experienced was the paranormal. I think it further proves that the paranormal, they don't act on cue. You can't say, I want this cigar smoke to happen right now, gosh darn it, or this isn't paranormal. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You know?
It's not truly haunted until we all have the same experience. It doesn't work that way at all.
No, it never works that way for us. We've never gone into one place and we're like, yeah, all right. So at 1 o'clock, we're going to see a ball of white light come down those stairs and go. No, it just doesn't. It just doesn't work that way. You know, what's funny is I got this book of ghosts, and of course I do. Can you believe that? But it's, you know, it says that on Halloween night, there's a street in New Hampshire where a phantom jogger is always seen. They even give the specific fucking time. So I just got to go and scope out this street, and apparently I can see him on Halloween night. I'm going to have to chance it if he's so commonly seen there, right? This might be the one that breaks the mold. Be like, where's that $1 million prize at now? Because here he is. He's just trotting through. So I did catch a very, very faint noise on my audio just after the moment that I see the boy. What it is, it's too hard to make out, but there is something there. It's just too bad that I didn't catch anything else on him. It happened so quickly, and it took me the rest of the night to fully wrap my head around it. And even after 2 full years, I'm still just as baffled as I was that night. But like I said, we spilled our guts to Jennifer as if we were having a confessional to this woman. We're just like, sit down. We have to tell you everything. I thought the place was epic. And just to top it off, when we walked out those doors into the cold, slightly cold Arizona night, the fucking coyotes were crying. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, the night just was, it was awesome. I mean, I couldn't get over my experience, and I think my best friend realized that night what a basket case her best friend was.
No, I knew that already.
Exactly. So going to sleep after all of that was so difficult. And we were just across the street. So there was no unwinding. Like generally from an investigation, we've got hours to drive, or at least an hour between, a location and when we're going to go to sleep. There's wind down time. We weren't allowed wind down time. We walked from the haunted place across the street, and that's it. You could still see the haunted place.
Right out the window, yeah. I figured you didn't even sleep. You seemed very kind of still shaken, as you would, from the experience. Yeah. And so I was like, God, I hope she's all right.
Wendy's awesome. I wish I could do that. First of all, our investigation ended and it's roughly 3 a.m. Well, that's around the time that my body is just like, all right, dummy, it's time to start waking up anyways. So I have to fight my brain to shut it off from everything that happened and then also say, now it's time to wind down and go to sleep. I think I might have gotten 2 hours of sleep. I'm not 100% sure. I know that I shut my eyes and then the next thing I knew, I was opening them up and the sun was already coming out and we were already on our way out to go to Boot Hill, like at sunrise, like sunrise cemetery service for us guys. That's how we roll. And I'm so shocked that without having any sleep and no coffee in me that I didn't trip over any cactuses. So that was like also a bonus. So anyways, that is the story. I'll have the audio clips that I discussed onto our YouTube page. It's COTN space paranormal. Just look up the Birdcage Theater playlist. It's the best way to search our YouTube page because we have a ridiculous amount of uploads. If you guys have been to the Birdcage Theater or to Big Nose Kate's and have a story of your own that you'd like to share, please write to us at creaturesofthenightparanormal@gmail.com. We'll have tons of our own pictures to post, which is, again, just more fun for me. This was such an awesome walk down memory lane. It was an awesome experience. It was my first time in the desert. Sure as fuck my first time at Tombstone, Arizona. So you'll see all of our great pictures. We managed to take some selfies also in the dark. So they didn't turn out that great, but...
I like the kind of blur on mine. It's like a glow. It's like those 80s style, the glamour shots that you get.
Yeah, so you'll see our glamour shots this week too, guys. Right. So, as always, we ask that you please leave us a review. Nobody does anything these days if they can't trust the opinions of a complete stranger. So please, please rate and review and subscribe to our show. We would absolutely appreciate hearing from our listeners. And if you already love us to the moon, well, we have a shop where you can buy podcast merch to support your creatures. We have amazing candles and spiritual products, as well as t-shirts that allow you to represent the show that you love the most. Our shirt look great with jeans, leggings, Wild West skirts as well. You name it. You just can't go wrong with that fashionable gear. For those goodies and more, check out creaturesofthenightparanormal.com. And that's it. That's all I got.
Well, that was an adventure.
I know.
It was the coolest weekend together. We always have fun together, no matter where we're going, because we are so like-minded in what we enjoy that you can't go wrong and nobody's stopping us.
Yes.
When you don't have to worry about talking someone into anything, it's just like you want to go stay in this really old hotel where you have to share a bathroom with everyone else and then hang out for 5 hours in this dust-filled antique store, basically, that used to be an old saloon and look for ghosts. And it's like, duh, did you have to ask?
Is that even a question?
Yeah. So who do you think you're talking to? Tombstone's an awesome town. The greatest thing about your trip to Arizona was that I saw that you enjoyed it. And I mean, like, I go there and I eat up every bit of it and love it because it feels like you're stepping into history, where a lot of people would be like, oh, that old dirt town. So the fact that you were just like, this is fucking mind-blowing. I was like, I can't believe I impressed her. Well, not me, but that this impresses you. And so that was the coolest part. It really fucking worked out that the Birdcage didn't disappoint. How many places have we spent 5 hours in and had that much activity?
Right, exactly. At some time, wherever we were at the birdcage, either someone was getting irritated with us, someone was laughing at us, or someone was just like, hey, just try and move them over into that room so I can play with my poker chips. It was.
Could you get these girls out of here? Somebody stomp around in the other room. Yeah, I mean, for the short amount of time we were there and the space available to us, it really showed up. It did a good job. It was an active experience and one that we would never forget.
It is a rad place. Definitely want to go back. There's other places there for me to explore. But it's so hard to say next time I'm in Arizona, I have to go back there because there's so much more that you still have to take me to. So maybe one day.
It's a big state full of lots of towns like that. Yeah. So thank you again for doing that. And thanks everybody for listening. And I guess that's it. Yeah.
That's it. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.